Okay, I think we should begin. Although he's here, but okay. So I think we did Mishnah Ches. Yes.
We didn't again get the central idea.
Oh, so we have Chosin. If he wants to read, really a Chosin is what? He's Potter. But if he wants to read Koreh, he can read. So that would indicate that he's probably Yotzei. You know what I'm saying? So what would a general rule be from here? What would a general rule be? I mean, what's the Chiddush here?
It's not an Issa thing to read, it's just an exemption. Is that what it said last time?
That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
It's an exemption. Yeah.
And even when I think we said, even when you're exempt, you could still be Yotze to the
It's
mitzvah.
going to be Yotzei, yeah. That's what
Two
it seems
steps,
to be.
right.
One who is doing one mitzvah could be exclusively involved in this mitzvah without having to do anything else. I guess something.
The what? What was that?
One who is doing a mitzvah, who is involved in the mitzvah, is
Doing
allowed.
So yeah.
Yes, is allowed to do that mitzvah exclusively without doing any other mitzvah. I mean, he can handle it. He can be involved in it exclusively. Only that mitzvah, nothing else.
Yeah, I don't know why you bring in what do you mean by exclusive?
Only that mitzvah, nothing else. He doesn't have to do any other mitzvah. He can, but he doesn't have to.
He's exempt, yeah. He's
Right,
Potter.
but-
Is that what you said?
I'm sure one doesn't have to do more than one mitzvah at a time. Maybe
Well,
something
how
like
do you
that.
see that from here?
I mean, that's the main idea. It's chosen.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't speak about other mitzvahs. It just says that he's.
Yeah, but I mean, we generalize it. We are talking in general. I mean,
Yeah.
he's busy with one mitzvah, so he doesn't have to do any other mitzvah.
Maybe. That's a rather broad statement, and it doesn't have to do anything else. Yeah, you really have to check that. You need a source for that, you know. It's part of everything.
But that's how we learn the main principle of the Mishnah.
Well, the main principle is obviously mitzvah, potar mitzvah, but the question is, what are the parameters of that? There's all kinds of parameters. Parameters means, conditions and so on and so forth. When does it apply? How does it apply? With what does it apply? There's so many different, conditions.
Yeah, of course, but till we learn any limitations, that's what it is. When we learn limitations, we'll see how to limit it. Now we have no other information.
Fine, okay. I would just say that, to me it would be, that is such a broad statement, I would just say I need really, even to make that statement, I would need some type of a source, something. But whatever, okay.
So those two things you said are the
So
parameters.
we have here the what?
Those two things are the parameters, using the parameters of the conditions of the principle, of the halacha?
Well, of the halacha, yeah, and then you'd have to look for the principle, how the principle would determine the different parameters. Remember, a principle will determine the conduct of the case, right? But every case, conduct, and so on, every halacha has parameters. So what determines the parameters? We know what determines the conduct of the case, that's a principle. But many halachas have parameters, they have conditions. So what determines the conditions?
Don't they have their own principles?
What?
Don't they have their own principles?
They should have, yeah.
Should.
There has to be some type of a what's the word for it?
I mean, it's also the principle, just more refined.
Some type of a determinant for all each parameter has to have a determinant, whether it be a source or another principle, whatever, Yeah, that certainly would be true. So we have here that he can read, but then Ram Shimon Gamliel says that no, he can't read. Lo yikol haroitz aliti les Hashem yitoil. So first of all, what does Rab Shimon Gamliel really say? That's the first thing you'd analyze. What exactly does he say?
I mean, he seems to address Gaiva. I mean, the one just decided to call himself
Yeah.
a big shot. Not necessarily.
Well, it's a display of arrogance.
Right.
You know,
It could,
haughtiness, arrogance.
but it could be deserved. It doesn't have to be arrogance, really. I mean, the person could be godel. I mean, it depends. It doesn't have to be.
But that's what it says. Loy call horoitz. Not everybody. But some people can't do that. You know. So how do you? What would you analyze about Reb Shimon? You know, what's there to analyze here? First of all, what's the rule that Reb Shimon seems to be? You know, Tanakama says what? That he's potter, that's true. But if he wants to read, if he wants to not take advantage of the exemption, no problem. It's not Osa, and he's certainly Yotze. Along comes Rabban Shimon Gamliel, and what does he say? He says what?
Your behavior has to be appropriate to your character or to your state, your status, your station.
But he doesn't quantify it.
Yeah, but that's a principle. First, what does he say?
Just because
First, you have to go, what's the halacha that he says?
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Just because you can't, not just because you're exempt,
Doesn't
you
mean-
can't.
Doesn't mean you should necessarily take advantage.
You should. So what is he? So what's he saying?
So when there is an exemption,
Yeah.
that means that they don't want you to keep the halacha. They don't want you to do it.
No.
An exemption is not just a way out.
Yeah.
He says
Well, he's exempt. We know that.
Well, because he's exempt because there's a competing value.
He's exempt because of Isaac mitzvah,
Right.
right?
So that means
So the question, that's why he's exempt. So Tanakama says he's exempt, but he doesn't have to take advantage of that exemption. You know. So what does Reb Shimon come to add? What's his halachic statement?
Just it depends on the person. Some person can, some can't.
So what are you really saying?
Only Chachamim could get out of the exemption.
But it's very vague. I mean, who is Chacham? It's very vague.
Okay.
That's right.
It's the definition,
What I think
right?
it's
No, but what is he saying? I mean, you're going around it.
The chasidus of a person is really what determines whether or not he, whether or not to fulfill the mitzvah even while he's exempt from it.
Yeah, but
It's the chasidus of the person, the true chasidus of the person that really determines he should take the exemption, shouldn't take the exemption, he's worthy of it, he's not worthy of it, it's an display of arrogance, it's not a display of arrogance at all.
Yeah. But it's, I'm going to tell you something.
It's where the
It's all fine. But remember, you want to start to analyze something. Keep it simple. What does he say? Don't give me his principle. That will come later. Right? First thing you always have to ask him, what does the man say?
He argues. He said not everybody.
He argues.
Yes.
Okay.
With,
What does he say?
previous statement, he's saying that not everybody should get rid of exemption. Some people should use it. Some people shouldn't use it. Depends on Madreg.
That's true. But,
It's a translation.
well, implicit in the Tanna Kamma was we said two things. We said number one, there's no he's
he's
exempt.
saying it, but, you can
Sorry.
say it. I don't know. Style difference. Yeah?
I'm saying, in the Tanna Kamma we said two things, but there's really three things. We said number one that it's not an it's just an exemption. And number two is an exemption. It's not. It's an exemption. If it's an exemption, he's also, even though it's exempt, he's also yotze if he does it. But there's really a third thing the Tanna Kamma said.
Yeah, the what?
Is that if he's capable of, it's implicit, he's saying he's capable of, it would be a good thing if he would do it. In Rotz, we're sort of implicitly saying that not only he is exempt, but if he's, and then Rabbi Shimon is arguing on that third point. He's saying that even if he's capable of it, he shouldn't do it. That's what he's saying.
So what is he really doing with Shimon? What is he doing, I mean, you're all saying around, but,
It looks
What
like
is he saying?
we're stuck.
What?
We're stuck. I mean, each of us said it like at least 3-4 different versions. I mean, I don't think we should continue.
Saying it's not a blanket statement.
It's not a what?
Blanket statement.
What's not a blanket statement?
Tanakama. Tanakama said, Chasan Imratza, if he wants, he could get rid of the exemption. He says, no.
Yeah.
He says, no, it's not true universally.
Oh, that's it. It's not absolute.
Absolutely. That's what I was about to say. Yeah.
What?
That's what I was about to say.
I know.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. No, he's saying this halacha that you do not have to take advantage of an exemption, and therefore you could do it. is not an absolute halacha. There's a condition behind this. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
yeah.
That's what he say. He's introducing the concept that it's not absolute. There is a condition.
Why didn't we say it?
Why didn't you what?
Why didn't we say it? Yeah, there's just
No, because
condition.
we're stuck. We're
He's
stuck in
putting
a
condition, yeah.
we're stuck in a translation.
He's putting condition to
We're
this.
not thinking about the format.
Yeah, you always have to. What is the man saying? What's he saying? You know. So what he's saying is that Tanakama. I hear what you're saying. However, the ability to say something, even though exempt, is not an absolute halacha. There's a condition to it.
Tanakh says it's
condition?
unconditional. He says it's conditional. It's
Exactly.
conditional.
That's all. He says it's with unconditional means it's absolute. Absolute. It always applies,
Yeah.
or it's always in effect. And Ram Shimon says no. There's a condition to it. If you fulfill the condition, fine. You don't fulfill the condition, no good. You can't do it. That's what he's saying. Now,
Okay.
the next one he asks is, okay, what's the condition? We could further analyze. Okay, what's the
Okay.
condition here? So right? What's the condition here?
A true madrigal person.
You have to be.
No.
You have
That's
to be a Talmid Chacham.
no. He didn't say. That's not anywhere in the mission of the Tam Chacham. All he said, "Lo kol roitz alita Shem yitel," which means if you are exempt, right, and you want to read it off of Pekain, there's a condition. Not everybody can do it, which means that some people can, some people can't. Clearly, then there has to be a certain type of condition. So what's the condition?
He doesn't say condition, really.
No, he doesn't say it.
If you write,
We learn it out probably, the Gemara and so on.
Right.
That's how, because he doesn't even say what the condition is. He's just saying, I'm sorry, it's not absolute. There's a condition here that if you fulfill, fine. If not, no way, you can't do it. That's all he says.
But the Tanakhama doesn't say it's absolute.
Who?
The Tanakhama.
No, sure, Tanakam is
anyone who
absolute.
wants
Anybody.
To, anyone who wants to read it.
Anybody who wants. It's
Oh, that's what you mean by absolute. Oh, yeah.
no, absolute means that anybody.
I think
Right?
by like, okay, right, okay.
It's absolute means anybody.
Who has a rotzen, and he's saying, a rotzen is not enough.
Exactly. So the question. So we learn from the Rav, whatever. So what's the problem here? What is the condition that Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is saying that you must adhere to, and then you could read it? But if you don't adhere to this, no way. So what is the condition we learn? It's yuhara, gaiva. That if you're exempt, there's a reason why you're exempt, because Oisik permits a potem and a mitzvah and so on. So if you display arrogance by not taking advantage of your exemption, that's a ma'akav, that's a condition. You need to be onof, whatever, you can't display arrogance.
Isn't it really
That's a ma'akav.
Isn't it really
You know what I'm saying?
Hasidic? Isn't it really looking at Hasidus of the person? It's Hasidus.
You're into the realm of Musa. I mean, I don't, let's just examine halachically what he's saying.
Oh, you're in the realm of Mido.
What you're doing is appropriate later to analyze. First, let's get what says. You know what I'm saying? It's very important to be text-oriented. There's a lot of people that are not text-oriented. They all of a sudden, they'll get the more or less the gist of what he's saying, and so on. But it's very important to say, okay, what is he saying? What does the text say? And then analyze that, and so on. And then later on we can say, what's the larger picture of this?
So what's he saying?
What?
So what's he saying?
What do you say when I said? That it's not absolute. The Tanakam is there.
Yeah, but
What is the condition?
Oh, so he's saying the condition is yuharo, gaiva.
What?
That if you, what? That's the Rav. Rav
So the Rav
says
says
that.
no. The Rav says the aim, because he says the reason is shemar ba'atma sheyochel lechavan liboy. Meaning it's only because it looks like you
Where
have.
are you?
Why are you? Rav.
You're in the Rav or in the...
Yeah. Lo kol haroitz little as Hashem.
Yeah.
Yeah, in low
Lo
Yosef
yosef chacham
Chacham.
posh b'shal devarim. Ein ze elo gaiva. Shemar ba'atma sheyochel lechavan liboy.
Yeah.
That he's showing that he has that's a technical thing, that you can have two things in your head at one. I mean, I don't even know what the connection between the first and the second part of the Rav is anyway. But
Which one?
well, the Rav says that he has to be a chacham parish, because otherwise it's gaiva. Because you're saying that you could
Yeah,
have
but
two
that-
things in mind at once.
I know what you mean. I mean, so he's saying, what's he saying? Yuhara, right?
But-
So what's the gaiva?
That you could intellectually you could capable of having two kavanas at the same time.
Yeah, so we can think about, what is the gaiva? That's the first question we ask. What type of a display of gaiva is that? Why is it a display of gaiva? That's the first thing we can ask. Why?
Because it supplies capability. I can do something that many people can't.
That many people can't. Or, well, it's not a capability for that. Who cares? So what? It's capable. What it is that he's trying to say that I'm a tzaddik, or
For me, Ruchani is more important than.
as I say, I am a spiritually elevated individual.
Right.
You know,
How's he saying that?
Pious.
because it probably goes back to the mission before,
No.
where Chosn,
I came out to,
his father, Rabbi Gamliel, read. Why? Because he couldn't part with the
Hashem.
Rebbeinu Shalom even a second. So therefore he read it. You know what I'm saying? So when you do that, you're also saying that even though you need kavanah, but I'm so religiously inclined, right, that I cannot part from this. I must do this.
basically, I'm eating chont l'shem shamayim mamash. I would
Yeah,
never.
it's a statement on his that he's spiritually elevated. That's his kaiva. What?
I wanted to ask you, the way you brought the condition in is you said that the condition is yuhara.
Yeah,
Meaning-
that's what the Rav
I mean, that's
says.
a condition that will stop you from getting rid of the exemption.
Yeah, that will stop you.
But everybody else here seem to be understanding differently. Like if there's a condition, we all agree there's a condition, but the condition to allow you to take the exemption, like how do you know that what Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is saying is that he's giving you a condition that will stop you from getting rid of the exemption?
Well, he says here, "Loi kol horoitz elita l'shem yitol." You can't do it. You cannot take the exemption. Right? That's what he's saying.
You can't
Loi
take
kol
the
horoitz
exemption.
elita l'Hashem. What Shem? Not everybody who wants to take the name. What name? That he's a chochem. He's a tzaddik. That's Shem. Yitol. He can't do it. Because that's Gaiva. Well, read the statement.
Yeah.
Loi kol horoitz elita l'Hashem. Not everybody wants to take that, what's the Shem, that designation or that,
The status.
I forgot a better word for that. The status, designation, attribute, and so on. Yitol, he can't do it. So the question is, well, what Shem does he want to take? So he said, Huch's a chochem. If he's not a chochem, obviously he's trying to show that he is a chochem, or a chassid, or a tzaddik, you name it.
Well,
Spiritually elevated, religiously involved and so on, So he's clearly indicating that he is spiritually elevated, right? And by doing it, because really, you're potter. But he's not taking advantage of the patur, and that he's indicating that, he is a chochem and so on. Although it's interesting, because he can be mechaven, Yochel Chaven Liboy. See, that's an interesting way he says that, or that he wants to be Mechaven Liboy. How is he displaying Gaiva? Because he can be Mechaven, or because he wants to be Mechaven? Because he's so enraptured with the Rebbeinu Shalom.
If he's not
Which is
mechaven,
it?
He's not able to, so then the whole thing doesn't really start because he didn't do Kriya Shema anyway. We're not talking about saying the words. We're saying about actually doing Kriya Shema.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what he's saying.
So it has to be that he's able to do it.
Yeah. The Rav says Sheyochel Lechaven Liboy, that he's able to do it.
But still, he shouldn't do it. Well,
Well, he shouldn't do it because, that itself is a question.
No, maybe he should
What
do
he
it
can?
Maybe private. He can do it privately. Maybe privately. Maybe he shouldn't display it.
The mission is problematic. You know why? Because we learned before that if you're on the top of the tree, you don't have to descend, even though you're afraid of falling, right? So therefore, the fear of falling is going to stop you from being mechaven. But you're allowed to do it, right? Because the kavanah you need is only, for 15 seconds. You know what I'm saying? So obviously the kavanah can't be. We're not talking about a lot of kavanah, So everybody can do it. Well, even if a guy's Torah b'mitzvah, for the 10 seconds it takes to mechaven, why can't anybody do it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's a question. We're not talking here, Shimon Esrei, he's got a mechaven, for 10 minutes or whatever, We're talking about something that 10 to 15, 20 seconds, Raya, that he doesn't even have to go down from the tree, you know. So the truth is, why is it Yohara? I would imagine anybody can do it. That's the first kasha that you have to ask. You know what I'm saying? What's the problem? Anybody can do it. Sheyochel li lechaven li boy, you know.
Yeah, just read it. Come on.
Yeah. Well, you just for you know, Shema Yisrael. It's only the first pasuk. That's it. So what's the big deal? That proves he's a chacham. And the second problem is there's another problem here. If you think about it. So what?
Let him say it.
So he's a gaiva. So what? So what? Since when is acting like a bal gaiva an ikuf to do a mitzvah?
Oh, it's the halachic category. Yeah.
Yeah, that's since when?
It's a musra.
I mean, a lot of guys do mitzvahs for gaiva. I mean, unfortunately. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, do you ever see a din in Shulchan Aruch that if you're doing this for gaiva, no.
No, on the contrary.
But here there's an
we put all
exemption.
this.
Yeah, okay.
Here you're saying if you really would be mechayev, you wouldn't have a hefta because you can't say because you heard I'm not going to do the mitzvah. But here you are exempt.
Yeah. So
if
what?
you don't do it, you want mevachel mitzvah.
Okay,
So what?
No, Gaiva has a bad midah.
So bad.
No.
I'm not saying it was a good
Not
midah.
necessarily.
Don't get me wrong.
But we put
So what?
in
Oh,
everything.
you're
we
right.
show.
You're exempt, right? And I want to show him a gaiva.
Right.
You know.
Good.
So I mean, what's the heck?
So we tell you don't.
What?
We tell you don't.
No.
If it would be a mitzvah, we wouldn't say.
So what I'm saying is, gaiva doesn't stop you from doing a mitzvah. So what's the difference if you're chayav or exempt?
How's that follow? If you have a mitzvah, God wouldn't stop you doing it.
No.
You're to do it. Here
That's
you're not
right.
mechuyev to do it.
Yeah. So
You have
why
no
should-
mechuyev to keep it
Yeah, but the
all.
question is, so what? So what if you're
So
a
you do it
gaiva?
because
You do it gaiva. So what? I mean,
On that-
why should that? My question is, why should gaiva stop you from doing a mitzvah, even if you're exempt?
It's mitzvah
Why?
b'avera.
No,
that's close. No, that's not called
It's not a way
mitzvah
to be
b'avera.
gaiva.
No.
Of course, it's not going to be speaking about that.
Yeah, a lot of guys do things when they're on the
It's
I mean,
very
you know.
subtle, you know.
No,
No, you know,
But you're not, but you're not.
But you know that, yeah.
to not do things that are going to be guided.
Well, that's what he says.
We don't tell you that when you to avoid you doing a mitzvah, but we would tell you that when there's no mitzvah involved.
You said that.
Right.
But
So-
my question is, I don't hear it. What am I saying? You know, you have to realize something. There's a chilik, and does the chilik machalik?
I'm saying that I can't hear you.
I don't hear the chilik. I hear the chilik, but I don't see what's machalik. That's my problem. You understand what I'm saying? I hear the chilik. You know, if you chayav to do it, so let's say I'm going to do it, and I'm going to really, you know, advertise I'm somebody special. Now take the lulav and I go like, so you know, I mean, there guys that really can do this stuff, you know, or whatever, you know, with the 10 minutes with the, you know, like that. Right? So you're chayav. So clearly, now you're not do it. Okay, here you're exempt. So why should gaiva stop you? I hear the chilik, but I don't hear why it should be mechalik. So what? Just like gaiva wouldn't stop you from doing a mitzvah that you mechuyev. In other words, if there was an isa b'dova, fine, I agree with you. If it was also you're exempt, so it's also, I hear what you're saying. But you're not, it's not also, and v'haraya, if you do it, you're correct, you're mekayim the mitzvah. So why should gaiva stop me from being mekayim the mitzvah, even if I'm exempt, but by default I'm mekayim the mitzvah? Well, how will you take a mitzvah away from me for? So I'm a gaiva? You didn't do that the other way. You hear my kasha?
Yes. It's a problem.
You understand what I'm saying? If it was an Isa B'Dovo, you know what I'm saying? I can hear what you're saying, you know. But gaiva is not a ma'akev, and the real thing is, I would be Mekayim mitzvah. Korei. You know what I'm saying? So why should you do that to me?
So
You know what I'm saying?
you lose more by
By the gaiva.
than by the kind
No, but it's not- It's on the halachic category.
I don't hear it.
It's because they're musar. It's on the halachic category. It's like
No,
You
that's-
understand what I'm saying? I don't hear it. I mean, I can hear, but I don't hear how you stop a guy from being Mekayim a mitzvah of Kriya Shema. I mean, if he wasn't Mekayim a mitzvah, or if it was also, or he wasn't Mekayim anything, okay. But he's Mekayim a mitzvah. You can't take that away from him. Just like you wouldn't stop him if he's Mechuyev. If he reads it, he's Mekayim a mitzvah. So because a gaiva, so what? She's a gaiva. That's my question. It's a chilik, but I do not hear why it's mechalik. You see? So the first question
Well,
is,
maybe-
what's the
maybe-
big deal?
maybe
Anybody
this
can mechaven.
idea-
It all it takes is 15 seconds. The second question is, so what?
Yeah.
Maybe the idea of gaiva.
Anybody come up with an idea?
Yeah, maybe in this particular case, is that Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel is medactic with respect to this mitzvah not to be a balgava, because here the idea of Kriya Shema is to acknowledge the Rebbeinu Shalom, the fundamental belief of the Rebbeinu Shalom. And if you're a balgava, that means you're a Rebbeinu Shalom. So therefore, you're like have a mutual exclusivity at the same time.
That's very good. That's exactly what I was going to say. Because the mitzvah is antithetical to Yuhara. No!
Sure.
Where's the brown stars? Where's the star? Exactly.
You have to watch out for your horror though.
I have to excuse myself for the class.
So you really,
I have to go. I have to like.
He's gonna send
I have to get pipes of snow or something to put on my face for a while. So
I was going to say the same thing. Because Kriya Shema is interesting. What is Kriya Shema really? It's a declaration of Einay Muvadoi. That Rosh is only one, you know? So what is Yohara? Yohara is Yeshev Muvadoi. Besides him, there's always me. That's an exact opposite statement to Kriya Shema. So that's why it's Ma'akev. But maybe in the other cases, it's not.
You
It's not a
you
ma'akev.
can't learn from here that any chumrah that will make you a Baal Gaiva, you shouldn't do.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I mean, you have to see what the Mephoshim say, but I would say that, yeah. That it's unique to Kriya Shema, you know?
It disturbs Badavka Yichud over here.
Yeah, because Yuhar is the opposite of Shema
Yichud
Yisrael.
should be pure in a sense, something like that.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Should be
yeah.
undisturbed.
Yeah, so how could you be using the very term that says Einay Mavadoi and getting Yeshed Mavadoi from it? I mean, you know.
So problem is not Gaiva, problem is Chesaron and Yichud. In purity
Well,
of
the
Yichud.
problem is
so to say.
contradiction.
Right.
It's a stira minei ubei. It's a contradiction. So therefore, it could be that because of that, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel said it won't work by Kriya Shema.
Does that answer the first question you asked too? About the 15 seconds?
That anybody can do it? No, don't answer that. No, that's difficult to understand because I mean, if you could stand on top of a tree or on top of a wall, because it's only 15 seconds, then why are you being Mara Chochama? I think anybody could do it, really. You know, I don't see the Yuhara altogether. Why anybody would mistaken you to be Gaiva. You know, unless I mean, there is one sad maybe I can hear. Anybody know? You all have the information I have, by the way. I don't have anything more than you guys.
what's the question?
There is. I asked the question. Why are you displaying Gaiva if you can be Chavan in 15 seconds? That's my question. And the second question was, so what if it's Gaiva? So we answered that, hopefully. First question was, why is that Yuhara, Anybody can do it. The only guy can do it is a Choch. Hard to believe.
If the chassan is a brisker, it's going to spend a half an hour.
Is what?
It's going to spend a half an hour on Shabbat.
So you will not fall down from the tree.
Yeah, that's true too.
Oh, I think that's because the basic fact is the Tanakh is you're patur. So why are you trying to prove something else?
Say again?
The Tanakh says you're patur from Kriya. Wait, hang on.
Yeah, you can. You're
patur,
I mean, you're chayav.
but you could. And
You could, yeah, clearly, yeah.
But you could do it.
Yeah. My questions are Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. Lo yikol lo yitzlitul Hashem. What Shem? My question, what Shem? Anybody can be Chav in 15 seconds. Why did it necessarily indicate you're a Chacham? You hear a question?
No, here, again, I think the same thing really answers. The same answer, it answers this also,
Yeah,
I
go
think.
ahead.
Because it's like, I'm saying that I could mechav on Ichud 100%, means I forget about everything else. By nature of it, I mean, I'm not bothered by nothing else, I couldn't care less about this. This is, it's pure. In other words, I insist on purity of the Ichud that I'm able to maintain. Something like this. Because it's the same answer, really. Because it's not just a mitzvah. I mean, I'm not bothered by something which, it bothers me really, but I'm saying no, I'm not bothered, nothing, doesn't exist for me. It's a joke. This is real thing. That's all illusion. It's nothing. It's not true.
The only thing is that he says sheyochel lechaven liboy. The Rav says this.
Yeah, but come on, it doesn't mean it means mechavan in the sense that this is the only reality, this is the only that's important. Everything else, I'm not bothered, it's illusion, it doesn't exist in a sense.
So your question is more fundamental, no? Your question is why is Chassan Potom Hashem altogether?
Yeah,
that's probably your question.
Yeah, the same question.
Yes, theoretically you're right. Yeah, it's 15 seconds. What's the problem?
But
it's not the quantity; it's the quality. It's the quality. It's because it's yichud means nothing else is important for me. That's
I mean, the Rav does in the end. He does make a distinction between how we say Kriyat Shema today and how they said it in the times of the Mishnah. That's the next piece. He does say that they said it differently then.
Yeah, or today.
We have what we consider kavanah now would not have been considered kavanah at all in the times of the Mishnah.
Yes, he does say that. Yeah.
So
let's say you should do it. Why? Ein mechaben kol kach b'shar yomim. Kol kach.
we don't really have that much kavanah anyway.
Kol kach means it's a kavanah, but it's weak, or we don't mechaben. Which is it?
Kavanah that it's weak.
It's weak.
Yeah.
So what he seems to be saying, and maybe that's what he's really trying to address that, there are different levels of kavanah. There are different levels of kavanah. Some people are mechavan, but it's called kavanah light. Like Miller Light. No, it's light. There's kavanah light. And then there's real, sometimes you see a guy really is into it, mechavan, so on and so forth, So in those days when everybody wore mechavan, obviously, those days it was kavanah heavy. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just the duration, but it's also the intensity. You know what I'm saying? So in those days when, even if
what
it's
about
short
the
duration,
tree?
what?
What about the tree? Talking about intensity, what about the tree?
Yeah, cool.
Maybe it's more than 15 seconds.
What was that?
Maybe it's more than 15 seconds, the tree. Maybe it's 2 minutes.
No, but you're allowed to mechavan. You don't have to go down. You are allowed to mechavan up there.
Right, but how can you do it? I mean, you're going to fall down. If you go too intense.
Yeah. But I think the reason for that is really, Chachomim didn't want you to do it in a tree. Because if you really mechavan, you're going to fall. If you're going to fall, you know what I'm saying? You won't be able to mechavan the norm. The norm was much more intense. So the why is a mutter? Because of the Baal, to save him money.
This lighter kavanah is allowed in order to save their money.
Yeah, they took that in consideration. Because from a guy to go up from the tree down, and then go back up, it could be a half hour.
They didn't have motorized instruments back then.
They didn't, no. So you got to climb those three. And we're looking here a good half hour of,
So you mean
wasted money.
Over here, it's could be the same
So
situation.
that was a strong impetus for Chazal
To downgrade the kavanah.
Either downgrade the kavanah or downgrade the kavanah. Yeah.
We could have taken Potter from Kriyat Shema.
No, there's the
tree.
Raisa.
No, you can't.
No, because he can come down.
Because there's no Tila the mitzvah, right? There's no Asik mitzvah, right?
Yeah, because he can come down. So go down. You be potter, By chosn, you can't say don't get married. That's the mitzvah to get married. You know what I'm saying? So that clearly played a very strong part in the kula where you can say Kriya Shema up in the tree played a very strong part. So it could be that therefore you're allowed to say it. You stay up there, and of course since the guy's afraid of falling, he will not be mechavan the norm. He will mechavan much lighthearted. And they said, that's okay with us. So you put the two together. Even though it's kavanah, but it's short and less intense, to save the Baal money, because it's going to cost him a lot of money, the labor, half hour of your labor, That was the real consideration.
Yeah, but at least there is a kavanah there.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
considered-
they never said
At least,
don't.
at least there's some kavana there.
Exactly,
It's not.
yeah.
It's no zero kavana. It's,
No,
there is some
exactly. Yeah, they
kavana.
didn't say don't mechavan. No, because for that they would have told you go down.
They tell you just don't be
Yeah.
be
And so
normal.
on. Whereas here, yeah. So in those days, so you all of a sudden you're exempt and you're mechavan. Clearly, that indicates that you can come up with this really intense kavana, and for that you really have to be. That would indicate you're a chacham and so on, and so on. In other words, that you're used to this, and therefore you can be mechavan. Chachamim, obviously, whatever, have the wherewithal to put away everything and be mechavan. They do this all the time, where they put away ikuvim that will prevent them from thinking about it, So we could say that. So therefore, that's yuhara. So that's why today, when everything is light anyway, you know what I'm saying? So everybody can mechab. What's the problem?
We don't understand what Mishnah means.
Yeah, no.
That's how
So
light it
therefore,
is.
since everybody does a light kavana, you know what I'm saying? They all do a light kavana. So then echanami, then anybody could lane. You don't need to be a chacham to do it.
The further back you would have gone.
So therefore, you don't have to be a chacham. So in other words, my gufa, my kasha is the answer for the why today you do not have this halacha. That's good for the answer. You know what I'm
The
saying?
further back you would have gone into time. If you went before like the Chachamim, let's say you went to the time of the first Beit Mikdash.
Yeah.
That would have been normal for most of the Yidden at that time
Mm-hmm.
to be mechavein very intensively.
Yes.
Because their devekos was much stronger. They had
Yeah.
much greater connection.
Yeah.
So maybe it was at this generation where we've seen that there was a break. Rabbi Gamliel said there was a break in that level of devekos and ability to be mechavein. So that
Yeah.
there was still a remnant that still had it, but he probably saw there was a great deal of the population that didn't have anymore because the Yerida
Yeah.
after the destruction of the second Beit Mikdash.
So the question that I'm asking is really the answer of why today this halacha is not applicable.
It doesn't apply to young light.
It doesn't apply
To
to
younger
young
light.
light.
Why are you saying?
Light?
Younger light.
Racist.
So therefore, we now understand. So in the old days, you really had to be a chacham, because that's the kavana. In order to do it, you really had to be a chacham. So if you did not allow the exemption to take place, you were shown clearly that you're a chacham.
But at some point in time, it was normal to be a chacham. Was it not? Wasn't it not normal that most of the Yidden there were chachamim,
Before Chet
I don't know.
they had a certain high connection with the Rebbeinu
It was
Shalom?
before Chet
Was
Adam
that
Rishon.
normal, let's say the time of that first Beit Mikdash, was it normal that, they had a million Nevi'im out
Yeah, but they had a
there?
lot of hamaratzim, and that's why you have demai. It's hard to
Yeah,
know
but the man came
historically.
later.
Whatever, but it's hard to know historically what the story is. Okay, what's the central? So I think we have an understanding of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Although the halacha is not like him, even then. Yeah, even then it wasn't like him.
Even then, guy wasn't a problem.
Yeah, Yuhara wasn't. They did not gerus Yuhara. Yeah. Yeah. So what is the central idea?
Or what? The whole thing?
Yeah, of this Mishnah. Yeah.
The use of an exemption.
The use of an exemption. In other words, in a place where he is exempt. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
When the halach is that a person is exempt, right? Are there any conditions to deviate from that exemption?
That's not what I was saying.
What?
That's not what I was saying.
You were saying.
Yeah, no, but I didn't say it, sort of. I didn't elaborate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the central idea then?
In a case where there is an exemption, right? of saying Kriya Shema? Are there conditions that allow you to deviate from that exemption? In other words, to say it. Tanakama says, no, it's an absolute, and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says there are conditions. But the central idea is the deviation from the exemption status. That would be the central idea. Yes?
Okay.
So it seemed to me.
And the area?
The area is Chiyuv Kriya Shema. When is a person Chayav? When is he not Chayav? You know, it's when.
Performance?
Yeah, it's performance, yeah. It's not text, it's performance. Sure. Okay, great. So, on Perek Gimel, Misha Meisei Mutal Lefonov. Anybody want to say?
Okay.
No. Or something? No. One whose dead relative, I'm assuming, is laying before him.
Yeah.
Pater mikriyas shma. He's pater from kriyas shma, uminat tefillah, and from tefillah. Uminat tefillin, and from tefillin. No samita, those that carry the bed upon which the mace is being carried to his grave. The chilufin, and those that replace them. The chilufin, and those that replace the replacements. Those in front of the bed and those afterwards, behind it. And those that the mita needs. Peturim, their pater. And those that the mita does not need. Chayav, and they are chayav. In Kriya Shema. Elu peturim and tefillah. And both sets of people are pater from tefillah.
Yeah. Okay. So what do we have?
First we're talking about oinen. We're talking about oinen.
Mutal Lefonov, we're talking about an oinen. Yes.
So what's the chiddush with these specific mitzvahs?
Well, first let's see how many halachas there are. Let's delineate the halachas. Because it sounds like just one big, it sounds like one big statement. So you need to delineate the halachas first. You know what I'm saying? Well, it just sounds like one long halacha.
Show it.
So what's the first halacha?
It's 3.
Yeah?
Metu mutu lefanav. Nosim amita v'achilofim. And meladim.
So what's the first halacha?
The relative.
Who?
The relative.
Oinen is
himself.
potter
The
from.
maid is before the relative, and he's exempt from Kriya Shema, tefillin, and tefillah.
So how many halachas is that?
3.
3.
What's the first case?
How many?
One case.
But how many halachas? What does a halacha consist of?
So it's 3 halachas within one case.
Yeah, that's important. Many times the Mishnah does that, but it's three different halachas, even though the case is the same. But in the end, it's 3 because you'd ask, Misha Mesim Mutal Lefonov, what's the halacha by Kriya Shema? 1 halacha. What's the halacha by Tefillah? 2 halachas. What's the halacha by Tefillin? 3. So it's really 3 halachas, even though the case is identical. You know what I'm saying? Can't get fooled by that. Many times you get fooled by that. Where the Mishnah will introduce one case and just give you a whole bunch of v'chein, v'chein, v'chein. And each v'chein is really another halacha, even though we're talking about the same case. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So so that's 3 halachas. What's the next halachas?
Actually, the truth is, if that's the case, then we're looking at 9 halachas here.
9.
Because each case really involves the 3 different areas of.
Which case?
Second case is no same amita.
Oh, no. So let's go there. You know, we don't know yet. 9. Let's see what the second. Noise hamita, go ahead.
The halifim.
V'chilufeihen,
Chiluf. Okay.
and the replacements, yeah. And v'chilufeihen, and the replacements of the replacements.
You wouldn't count that as three. They wouldn't count that as three halachas.
3 cases.
No, it's one case.
Well,
Put it.
you tell me. What is it?
It's a kura. I mean,
I
it's a
say 2.
kura.
Who?
I say 2.
You'd say 2. Who says 1?
Me.
You say 1. Who says 2? Who says 3?
It's one case. It has to do
No,
with being,
halachas.
it has to do with
What?
to be mitas.
No, we're talking about case.
It's really
Cases, no.
Yeah.
it's really a case
How
of
many
being
cases?
mitasek with the beer.
I think it's 3
I see
cases.
chalufin and chalufin are really the same.
There's different people, but it's the same
It
case.
doesn't matter.
Same
They're all
idea, that's why I said
mitasek with the beer.
It's just the people themselves.
Right, yeah.
They're all
yeah.
wrong. They're all
Replacements.
mitasek with the beer. It's the same inyan. It's one case.
It's one
In
case.
soccer, it's the same.
How many?
We're
I
coming
thought it
to,
was 2. but
Three
maybe it's
three
one.
subjects for the same case.
3 subjects for the same case.
we're coming to Yichud.
What?
We're coming to Yichud. One.
Yeah.
It's all about what?
Karen the
The
beer.
Vaya.
It's all about the pallbearers,
That's right.
isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's the chiddush of the chilufin?
One case.
No, it's just all the people.
Anybody
Why
who's
does
a
it have to say
pallbearer. Anybody who's a
But then why did
pallbearer,
it have to
but
say-
They're oisik again, they're oisik in it.
what?
You
They're
have
oisik in it, we're carried over,
there's a
nearby.
chiddush with chilufin.
No, all these guys are oisik in it.
So why did it say chilufin?
I-
Anybody who's a pallbearer is automatically a potter.
They're all going to be used.
But that's not what it says.
But defining what a
Chilufin,
pallbearer
meaning that
is.
you might have thought that
What?
chilufin is not potter.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
why it's another halacha.
Okay.
One case with another halacha. Second halacha with chilufin.
It sounds we're dealing with here with oisik b'mitzvah. They're oisik b'mitzvah.
That's a principle.
No, I know.
Yeah, yeah,
I missed
I'm jumping to the principle.
But
Yeah,
Dafka
no.
Osik, but
First we need to get the halacha straight. So noise amita means the immediate pallbearers.
Yeah.
Yes?
Be Osik with
So
the
what's the
mitzvah, but
chilufin?
tangentially
Chilufin
it's something
means-
else.
They get tired, and those guys that are going to replace
The
them.
Rebbe went to the.
Backup guys.
The Rebbe said the story yesterday. With the rock that Rebbe got a hold of. The,
Oh, that Shabina.
Should be no.
Yeah, I got thrown out.
Oh, yes, this is still chilufin.
I was a lot of chiyam. I said 1965 that Shabina Rov, who's probably one of the Gedolei Hador, he was nifta, and there was like must have been 20, 30,000 people, and somehow I wormed my way right up to the. They were carrying him on a stretcher, and he was on top of the stretcher, not in a box, covered with towels, whatever, you know. So I was able to grab one of these
Handles?
handles, yeah. And I got dragged with that for about 4 or 5 feet, and then I couldn't hold, because there was such a push,
Yeah.
So I was one of the pallbearers. I thought it was a tremendous chus to be a pallbearer of such probably one either was the God Lato, one of the Gedolei Hador, and so on, So it's really about pallbearers. You know what I'm saying?
So there's a difference
So
between
I-
primary and a chilufin.
Yeah. So what you could do exactly, so it's really all about pallbearers. Those people who are carrying the Oren.
But is there a difference between the primary and the chilufin?
No.
Well, that's the interesting thing. Is there a real? The halacha is there is no difference.
Why would it say b'chilufin?
See, take a look. It says Eshel Lefnei Amita, Eshel Acha Amita.
Right.
So we're not only here talking about replacements. We're talking about those who are
So really,
half
it's one
carry
person with.
and those who will carry.
Really, it's all one halacha, but you would have had a havaminas for some reason a different way.
Yeah.
It's same thing. We're talking about oisik b'mitzvah. He doesn't have to do it now.
No,
but he's
you're
oisik in it.
you're into the principle. I want to get
No,
the cases.
I'm combining these people all together. It's one type of people.
No,
They're all
it's
oisik.
Anyone who's needed for
Well,
pallbearing.
that's what Eshel Amita Tzurch when. That's the halacha. That's the determinant of the halacha.
And then there's 3 halachas for Kriya Shema, for Tefillin, for Ein Chai
The
Bohen.
Torah, well, we don't know.
Right, what is
We
Bohen?
don't
right?
know. We only be Tzorich Behen, no.
Oh, no, but-
Shalamitas Tzorich Behen needs them.
Turin, other parts of it.
Turim, their potter,
From,
could be all three. Ve'she'en lemita tzorich behen, chayov.
even though, what's the Kiddush? Even though,
You know what I'm saying?
even though they're still being
they're
malava
chayav.
the mace, even though they're
Well,
doing
that's,
something.
so, if
They went home, that was,
No, because they're
Yeah.
not in the maze, so
Because
they
they
may
still-
think it's a. They also
how many,
assume-
well, let's take a look at this. How many different parties are there at a Levaya?
the family.
So, because we need to have, what? You have
Oh,
immediate
the
family.
meat,
The family, yeah, your immediate family. Good, one.
the pallbearers and those.
Pallbearers are two. So that's really what we need to know, because the Mishnah is now considering Kriyishma and Tefillah and Tefillah, whatever, by anybody who was involved in the Kfura. So how many people, how many parties are there involved in the Kfura? The Avelim themselves, that's exactly the immediate family.
Pallbearers.
The pallbearers are two.
And
And
non-pallbearers.
the Menachemim.
And the
Everyone else.
Yeah, and
Everyone
the
else
ones
Menachem.
who, yeah, and the ones who are Menachem, exactly. There are three parties that are involved in the Kfura, exactly. There's the Avelim, there's the pallbearers, and then there are the Menachem, exactly. So that's really what we begin to see in this Mishnah, that the Mishnah is going to talk about all of them.
In each of them, we have to ask the question about each halacha.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why the next Mishnah, is about the Menachem, those people who do the Nichum Avelim, the Shura. You know what I'm saying? But here, so technically speaking, there's the Avelim, and we say the Avelim, right? They're potter from Kriyashma, Tefillah, and Tefillin. So it's one case, but there are three halachas. You know what I'm saying? Because there are three different mitzvahs that we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Here, however, we're not talking about three different mitzvahs. We're talking about different people. We're talking about the pallbearers. You know what I'm saying? The replacements, and those who did it already, and those who will do it. You see? So, in a certain sense, you could divide it into replacements and before and after timing, if you wanted to. You know what I'm saying?
But it's a chiluk, but it's not a halak.
But it's not really, this you have to, because you're talking about three different mitzvahs. And a guy can ask you one of the mitzvahs without referring to the other two. Here, however, it's not so much the mitzvahs, it's the subjects, the ones who do the mitzvahs. You know what I'm saying? So, with them, I think we can lump them up and say it's one halacha. All the replacements, the before the mita, and the after the mita, which have done it, you know. So, which means all the pallbearers, no matter what position the pallbearers are in. You know what I'm saying? So we say it's peturim. But what the Mishnah does, eshelamita tzurich behen, it gives a condition. The Mishnah gives a condition. That pallbearers have a condition. The condition isn't if they're replacements or before or after. The condition is tzurich or not. And then the peturim.
It doesn't say from what though.
Doesn't say from what. So if it's all three, so technically you'd have three halachas. Same thing. Mitzvahs divide the halachas. You know what I'm saying? Where it's the case, and so really you have subjects, right? You have subjects, and you have the condition, and you have the conduct itself, peturim. So in a certain sense, if peturim means all three, what does he say? Peturim.
From all three mitzvahs.
They're part of all three. But he says the elu peturim at tefillah, even those which are not tzarech, they would be part of from tefillah. Okay. So we have three halachas.
What's that last
One situation, three halachas, pallbearers, three halachas, and the condition. And
The end of the mission is how many halachos? She'ena mitzvah tzorech
And then you have this, and
That's
that's
chayav in three. That's three halachos. They're chayav
yeah.
in.
Eilu v'eilu p'turim, are you talking about eilu v'eilu p'turim and not
Before
tefillah?
that, she'ena mitzvah tzorech v'hen chayovin. You have to say in Kriya Shema and tefillin. Because the next thing is eilu v'eilu p'turim and tefillah.
Yeah, so that becomes another case. Yeah. So if it's tzorech behem, well, tzorech behem and ain't tzorech behem is really a principle, or a condition, actually. If they're needed, fine, then it's potter. If they're not needed, you're chayav. So it's really a condition that determines the halacha.
It's really poshut. If they're not needed, well, they're not needed. What's their problem? It's poshut. Really.
They're not needed as pallbearers,
Right.
but maybe you would think they're needed for something else.
Malava.
What else?
There's a mitzvah to be malava. The mace.
The malava, yeah, to escort the mace, yeah. You know, so maybe that's probably what the chiddush is. You know what I'm saying? So actually, you have four parties. You have the avelim, the malavim, yeah. Those people who escort the mace. They go behind the hearse.
This is pretty much.
That's malavim, the
There's
hearse.
only two categories.
Well, you have the
Three.
avelim is one, right?
Pallbearers.
You have the
Menachem and
pallbearers,
Malav and the Mace
malavim
too.
and menachem.
Yeah, but-
They could be three
Who the
different.
menachem? Where is menachem?
Shura.
To see him to.
That's the shura.
It's not.
It's not in this next
No, this
mission.
mission. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is just a carryover.
The
There are
Menachem
really
could
four
really-
parties here.
The Menachem really could do both the.
Yeah, they could. Yeah,
They
of
could
course.
do the beer
But there are
thing
four,
also.
there are four
The
different
roles,
parties, four different things going on, roles or activities going on, and therefore on each one you have to ask yourself, what is the halacha of Kriya Shema, of Shema, Tefillah, and Tefillin? You know, so this Mishnah deals with the Avelim, the pallbearers. Yeah.
And the Malavim.
And the Malavim.
That's the last part of the mission.
Elu v'elu p'tur mina, yeah, ve'ein she'en lamita tzorech behen, so then what do you need them for? They already did their pall bearing.
It's the menachem.
They're not allowed, so they're malam, yeah. So there you are. That's three.
It's really nine halachas.
Why do you?
Well, yeah.
You could, I mean, the fact that the malavim are chayav in Kriya Shema and tefillin, that's a halacha.
Yeah, because there are three groups, you see, there are three groups here. So therefore, technically, it could be nine mitzvahs, 9 halachas. Yeah. Theoretically, it'd be 9
I mean, when you
halachas.
tell you that somebody who is chayav in something is halacha.
Yeah, sure. That's halacha, chayav.
Because, a guy in the Tzirah, a guy could come up to and say, what's,
Chayav or pot?
am I chayav or putter from tefillin
Sure.
right now?
Yeah.
Am I chayav putter from Kriya Shema? Do I have to say Shemon Esrei right now? Because those are different.
So what we've done is we've delineated the halachas, which is very important. We have to know what we're talking about. Well, how many halachas in this Mishnah? It looks like just one barrage of halachas, but it's really 3 different situations, 3 different cases that are applicable to 3 different mitzvahs. Each one, So theoretically, you would have 9 different halachas, 3 situations, and 9 mitzvahs. There you are. Okay, now what do you do next? What do we do next?
Principle.
Yeah, what's the principle? We have understanding of case and conduct. What's the principle?
Well, the principle, if you want to know why in each of these 3 different cases that it looks that way.
Yeah. So what would be the principle?
So for the Avel themselves, it could be Aninus.
Oinei, aninus.
Yeah, but more specifically, why?
Osik b'mitzvah.
Well, that you really
Is
ask me
Aninus a
what-
separate mitzvah?
why is it oinei?
No, he cannot focus. He cannot. It's the same thing by Chosin. He has a tragedy in front of
So
him.
you don't
It's
need.
the control.
He can Chosin. And what
You need
he
3
could.
mitzvahs
He can't think
davka
what he
need
could.
kavana.
What?
These 3 mitzvahs davka need kavana.
Well, the truth
Shema,
is,
tefillah, and tefillin.
You don't need kavana to
No.
add
the
some.
truth is,
Tefillin is another reason.
in each of these
Don't you need kavana
cases,
really?
Tefillin?
Yeah.
No, because it's called a pe'er. We learn that from Yechezkel.
That's for the Oval himself, though, not for somebody's walking along, not for the
Right,
pallbearer.
we're starting with the Yom.
No, we're not talking about the pallbearer. Well, we don't know, but that's where the Peturim in terms of the pallbearers. What does Peturim mean?
So his tragedy distracts him from being able to concentrate. You can't have Kavanah.
Yeah.
But each
Or he's oisek. If it's an ovel, he's oisek in kfura because it's a mitzvah of kfura sameis.
He's an Oinen anyway. He's before. If this is obviously before the Kurus, so he's an Oinen, not
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah. Yeah. So you really need to look at.
well, each of these cases are cases of hatrada,
Tirda.
tirda.
Tirda, yeah.
And what you really have is different levels, different madrigos of the tirda. I'm not sure what exactly the mitzvah of the velus is there.
Well, that would
The-
mean that the general
the-
Torah is oisek b'mitzvah.
Well, what's the actual?
Not for Oinen, not for Oinen, for other guys.
Well, that's the question. What
Well, that
the
is
Oinen
the,
is.
that is.
Is it Isaac Mitzvah?
with the
Is,
relative
exactly.
Altogether.
Yeah.
with the mace before the
Yeah.
relative. What's the mitzvah there?
Kfura. Mace mitzvah. I mean, kfura. You have to bury the guy. You have to bury him.
So the agony of seeing
Well,
him
the-
before you, knowing that
It's
you
not
gotta bury
agony.
them.
It's the involvement. You want to make sure the guy gets buried.
So it's not as agony that's the problem.
See,
It's the
that
fact
has to be
so it's-
analyzed.
it's-
What
it's
is it?
like-
The grief?
The-
What's the problem? Is it the grief, or is it the oisik b'mitzvah? Because you want to make sure he's
That's
buried
what
It's only for
properly.
Oinen. For
That's
other
what
guys,
I'm
it's clear. It's also mitzvah. For Oinen, it's a question.
Yeah, for the pallbearers
Obviously, there was a
and for the
mitzvah.
moravim, it would be
But I'm talking about,
oisik b'mitzvah.
I'm talking about the first case. What's the mitzvah
Yeah,
there?
the
there?
avelim.
What's the actual mitzvah there? For,
Well, that's the question.
The relative,
Is it-
there. I mean, is it the fact that he still has to be involved in the burial, but he's overly grieved by what he sees?
Well, that's exactly what the
Is that the
question is.
hatrada is in the mitzvah?
Yeah.
So the mitzvah is actually the burial in the first case.
He seemed to, at first well, seems to indicate that the over would be part of him. The oinen would be part of from everything. Call it from
Kol
mitzvahs. He's part of all the mitzvahs.
So it's not that he's involved in the mitzvah, he's putter from this.
Yeah.
But why?
He's put-
Why is he putter?
Uh,
Usually the idea before was he's putter from mitzvah because he's involved in another mitzvah. So what's the reason why? So what's the reason here that he's putter?
You said it was a guru, right?
I didn't say that. I'm asking.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I'm trying
I
to
thought you were
clarify.
afraid on it.
I mean, that was my sense of what it could be, but I'm not clear if that's really what it is.
he says Torah tirda the mitzvah. That's what the Rab says.
For the first case,
Yeah.
what's the mitzvah of kavura?
Kfura, probably, yeah.
And because he's so overtaken by the grief that he's incapacitated from.
Yeah. Well, he
Being
wants to
able
make.
to-
You want to make sure that the person will be buried properly.
Was the grief will be even after?
So grief really has nothing to do with that.
Probably not.
So yes, he's grieving, but that's not really the real. That's not the
You know,
issue.
they're just they're,
The fact that
I've
he's
been in
It has to be a
situations-
tirda mitzvah.
I've been in a situation where unfortunately the nifter was in a lot of pain, an older person, and it's a shtick, and the avelim really felt, even though obviously they were very distraught, but at the same time they felt a sense of relief that the nifter is not in pain anymore. So it sort of waters down that extreme.
If what?
Therefore, the distraughtness, however
Yeah.
you want to say it, is sort of blunted.
Why?
So it might, because let's say in a case where the nifter was in a lot of pain, and the
Oh, yeah.
the
Yeah, well-
Misa So I'm
Yeah,
just
but
saying
that's
that
not-
Yeah, so yeah,
that's
okay.
not every case.
Okay, that's
it's
not
not every case, but you
Kind of,
can't say a blanket rule that that's why it happens.
No,
In certain
it
cases,
has to be turned to the mitzvah. It's not because of grief.
Tear to the- okay.
Yeah.
So it has to just, all right. So
And the
truth
mitzvah would
is-
be kurs hames.
So each of these cases reflects a different madrega in the tirda of the mitzvah.
Yeah. The pallbearers are busy carrying them. They are needed in order also for hames.
So therefore, the principle of this mitzvah is what is considered hatrada or tirda, a mitzvah ligabe avelus, which therefore would make one patur from other mitzvahs.
Yeah, the principle is the Isaac mitzvah, potem mitzvah.
The Asmus who learn it's Kavod HaMeis. The Torah is not because it's Kavod HaMeis, no, it's not buried yet, the relatives to, that's where they're potter.
What-
So I think it's a Ramban or something.
No, but I'm trying to understand. So therefore, what?
It's not,
Why you
therefore
potter?
that's, because
What does cover hames have to do with?
they're not involved in doing other things. They don't have to go out and do other mitzvahs aseh. Obviously, they can't do lavim, but they don't have to go off and be involved in doing other mitzvahs aseh, like Kriyashma, Tefillah, or Lulav, whatever it is, because they have to sit there, even if they're not involved in burying the mace.
they're on the plane.
Just the point of Kavod HaMeis to say they should sit there, and that's important to them.
But they're on the plane.
Cover hames, you mean by doing the
refraining-
mitzvah,
refrain.
they would not be shown cover hames. That's
Yes.
what you're saying.
Like the Ramban, I think. The Ramban or Ramban.
It's okay. I have to
The,
take a look.
the Rab doesn't say that, right?
No,
Rav
Rav
doesn't say that.
Rav's clear says tir to the mitzvah.
Right, that's
That would be out. But that's a chiddush. So you mamish potter because doing the mitzvah would not be a display. Would be a display
It
of
would be a
disrespect.
contradiction, right?
Disrespect. That's the problem. Contra Ramban.
I think I don't comment.
Okay.
Just,
That's a big chiddush.
What's
That
funny is that
sounds very true.
afterwards, what changes between the Aninus
very
period and the Avedus period? Meaning, if it's Kavod HaMes, why Dafka before he's buried? Meaning,
I mean, why would that apply even after by Venus?
yeah.
But the nafkamina is that he's not allowed to. If it's because of Kavod HaMeis, if he wants to do the mitzvah, he's asked him to do the mitzvah. Whereas if it's because of Oisib mitzvah, so if he has the opportunity, I want to do it. But if it's because of Kavod HaMeis, he's not allowed to do the mitzvah.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's
Does he really say that?
Yerushalmi brachos, and then he brings.
Oh yeah.
He brings some
So you have to.
places.
So the rule there, you have to show respect to the mace. So the question is, by doing this mitzvah, this will show disrespect to the mace.
Wow,
So respect to the mace, respect to the mace.
it's amazing.
Where's the derivation for that?
Don't-
You have to look at derivation, like ice cream mitzvah we know, but the but cover a mace, where's the? It has to have some type of makor, So in any case, okay, so we've identified the halachas, the three different situations, and there are three different mitzvahs in each situation. And then what we're looking for now is a principle for each of the three mitzvahs in each of the three different situations. So the advantage of delineating is now we can go through 9 things in one shot without getting confused. But this is like it's like where we going with all this, Like we know there are 3 situations, 3 mitzvahs in each one. Okay, so we need a principle for each one. For each of the one. So for the first situation, Einain, he's potter from everything. Kriyashma, Tefillah, and Tefillin. And according to the Rav, it's tir to the mitzvah. So what would that be? Kriyashma, it can't be mechavan, right? Probably even in a light way. It's a tirda, because you want to make sure it's done. Tefillah, you certainly have it. The tirda, so the tirda. You see, what's interesting here, you can clear Hakira here. Why does tir to the mitzvah make you exempt? Why are you exempt from Kriya Shema or Tefillah?
You're asking in general by Osik the Mitzvah?
Yeah, Oisem Mitzvah, yeah.
Is it because...
Oh, so there's a Hakira
Right.
here. You see the Hakira?
I think so. I mean, is it because it's going to disturb you from doing the new mitzvah, the old mitzvah? Or is it because you're not going to do the new mitzvah well? Is that what you want?
So let me hear that again. It's either because
It's gonna disrupt the first mitzvah you were doing.
It's going to be mechusar.
which means you can't be mechaven,
You can't be chayav in the first mitzvah.
or
No, in our case, it would mean that you're not taking care of the kavura the right way.
then what?
You're not taking care of the kavura,
Gevura,
the right way.
Yeah. Well, okay. Either tirda the mitzvah. There's a din oisik b'mitzvah potem and a mitzvah. Period. And that's why you potter. And therefore, tirda the mitzvah is considered oisik b'mitzvah. Doesn't mean even if you're doing the mitzvah, even if you're Torah in the mitzvah, right? That's considered a mitzvah, oisik b'mitzvah. Therefore, you potter. Or is it because you can't be mechaven the you potter from the mitzvah because you can't be mechaven? Is it a chesson in the ability to do that first mitzvah, or is it not chesson? It doesn't make a difference. It's because you potter from the mitzvah because there's another mitzvah present.
What did it say again?
Is it because of oisik b'mitzvah potter min a mitzvah? You know what I'm saying? You're oisik in a mitzvah, so you potter from another mitzvah, because that's the halacha. One mitzvah at a time. But not because that which you potter from you can't be mechaven. Or, if you're oisik b'mitzvah as a tirda. In other words, why is tirda the mitzvah potter? Oisik b'mitzvah makes sense, because you're doing one, how can you do the other? But why is tirda potter? So either tirda is potter because that is also oisik b'mitzvah, or tirda because you can't be mechaven for the other mitzvah, therefore you're exempt.
What do you mean, how could you do the other one?
You know, that's the question, tirda.
Doesn't oisik mitzvah only apply when you could do the second mitzvah? If you couldn't do two mitzvahs at once, you don't need to tell me oisik mitzvah, mitzvah. Well, you can't do two mitzvahs at once.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't shake a lulav
No,
and
so my
you can't shake a
question-
lulav and put tefillin on at the same time. Right? It's like it's
It's called today it's called multitasking.
right, but
Yeah.
but
But,
it's where you are. It only applies where you could do the two mitzvahs together, not where you can't do. The
Just
two
as
mitzvahs
we
together.
mechusar.
Yeah. So no, but my question is on the tirda the mitzvah. And tirda the mitzvah, you could theoretically do both.
You really
So
ask
the
me,
question is,
does
why is it
Turda
potter?
apply to the mitzvah itself, or does Turda apply to?
For the one you exempt.